We are not simply to bandage the wounds of the victims caught beneath the wheels of injustice, but we are to drive a spoke into the wheel itself. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. In today's society, you don't see a lot of people sacrificing for their cause. I mean, there's the platform of social media where people can discuss their opinions, there's passionate rants, you see people putting signs in their yards, you see them putting stickers on their bumpers, but you don't actually see anybody giving anything for what they believe in. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've definitely used social media to get my point across, and in many different instances, it has worked. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I've never truly given anything for my cause, and I'd be willing to bet that a lot of you haven't either. One man who truly knew what it meant to sacrifice for his cause was Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and he did sacrifice. He ended up giving his life, and that's something that I believe could not possibly be more honorable. One of his primary beliefs was that Christians owed their lives to God, and he spent his life devoted to God, doing things such as trying to convince the Swiss, the Italians, and the Scandinavians to rise up against Hitler. He preached in prisons and concentration camps against Germany, which was highly illegal at the time. He believed that Nazism was godless, and he formed an entire church against them called the Confessing Church. He preached in this church and continued to preach in this church, even after it was made illegal to do so. He rejected Nazi ideology in its entirety, including the concept that the Jews were being punished for the crucifixion of Jesus, and the concept that the Jews were lesser than the Aryans. But his work against Nazi Germany was not only in religious fields. He conspired against Germany in ways such as trying to convince other countries, as I said before, to rise up against Hitler while he was working for the German army. He also tried to convince many Germans, including his own evangelical students, not to join the German army at the time. He wrote The Cost of Discipleship, a book devoted entirely to defying Nazi ideology. He compared the Nazis to the Catholics when Martin Luther rose up against them in the Middle Ages. He regarded it as his duty to eventually see that Hitler was brought down, even if that meant killing him, which is against the Ten Commandments, if you don't recall. Eventually, for all of this, he paid with his life. In 1945, at the Flossenburg concentration camp, he was hung by the German army for conspiring against Hitler. This is the end, but for me, the beginning of life. His last words before he was hanged with a wire, a punishment reserved only for the worst of criminals, because it prolonged the suffering of the victim. It is evident from history, personal accounts, and letters that Dietrich Bonhoeffer gave his life to God faithfully, and eventually he ended up willingly sacrificing his own life for his cause, which is something that's been admired throughout history for good reason.